Venice, a city of romance, of light and timeless beauty. Every year, millions of travelers lose themselves in its historic canals, enchanted by the allure of a place that seems to exist outside of time. But just a few miles away, hidden within the thick, cold fog of the Venetian Lagoon, lies a place the locals refuse to speak of. An island completely abandoned by time and cursed by the weight of its own dark history. This is Poveglia. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another crumbling ruin, slowly being reclaimed by the wild vines and the relentless salt air. But beneath the soil of this tiny island lies a truth so horrifying that it has been buried for centuries. Historical records estimate that over 160,000 human beings breathed their last here. In fact, the ground you walk on is not just earth. It is largely composed of human ash and bone dust. They call it the Island of No Return. It is considered so profoundly cursed that the Italian government has completely banned anyone from setting foot on its shores. How did this beautiful sanctuary transform into the most haunted place on earth? What kind of darkness could turn a place of life into a factory of death? Today, we unlock the rusted iron gates of Poveglia to uncover the truth behind the City of Shadows. This is a journey into the deepest, darkest corners of human history, where silence is the only language spoken by the ghosts that still roam these decaying halls. This is the story of a place where even death could not find peace. To understand the curse of Poveglia, we must travel back to the 14th century, to the apocalypse of Europe, the Black Death. The bubonic plague swept through nations like a scythe, erasing entire towns overnight. Venice, a global hub of trade, was highly vulnerable to this invisible contagion. The city needed a desperate solution to stop the spread of the illness. Their answer was total isolation. Poveglia was designated as a lazaretto, a quarantine station. At first, it was only intended for ships suspected of carrying the disease. Travelers were forced to remain on the island for 40 days to ensure they were clean before entering the city. But as the plague grew into an uncontrollable monster, Poveglia transformed from a quarantine station into a death sentence. Anyone showing the slightest symptom of cough, a fever, or swollen lymph nodes was forcefully dragged from their homes in Venice, thrown onto boats, and dumped onto the shores of Poveglia. There was no medicine. There was no comfort. There was only waiting for the end. The island quickly turned into a living nightmare. The sick and dying were crowded together in filthy, damp chambers. When the buildings filled up, thousands were left on the beaches, screaming into the night as they perished in agony. When they died, their bodies were thrown into massive plague pits and set on fire. It is said that today, over 50% of the island's soil consists of the decomposed remains and ashes of those forgotten souls. The air carried the constant scent of burning flesh, and the lagoon itself turned black with despair. Poveglia had become a factory of death. Imagine the terror of being abandoned, knowing that your own city had discarded you to die in total isolation. You were not a human anymore. You were merely a biological threat to be burned away. The plague eventually passed, and the fires burned out. For centuries, Poveglia stood silent, avoided by fishermen who claimed their nets would pull up human bones instead of fish. The island was cursed, a monument to human suffering. But history has a twisted way of repeating itself. In the year 1922, the ruins of Poveglia were given a new, terrifying purpose. A massive brick asylum was built on the island. The government relocated hundreds of mentally ill patients from the mainland to this isolated rock. Imagine being a patient, already suffering from trauma or illness, sent to an island where thousands had died in agony. The patients immediately claimed they heard things. They reported disembodied whispers in the long, cold corridors. They saw the shadows of plague victims dancing in the dark. They screamed that the island was alive with anger. But because they were diagnosed as mentally unstable, the guards and doctors ignored them. They dismissed it as merely a manifestation of their own madness. But the true horror of the asylum did not come from the ghosts of the past. It came from the man running it. Local legends speak of a brilliant but sadistic doctor who took charge of the facility. To him, these patients were not humans to be cured. They were subjects to be used for his twisted curiosity. In the high bell tower of the island, far away from prying eyes, he conducted gruesome experiments. Lobotomies performed with crude hand drills, electroshock therapies administered without anesthesia, and psychological torture. The screams of his victims were swallowed by the winds of the lagoon. No one could hear them. No one could save them. He believed he was uncovering the secrets of the human mind, but in reality, he was only feeding the insatiable, dark hunger of the island. He took advantage of their helplessness, knowing full well that no one would ever investigate the goings-on of Poveglia. However, karma, divine justice, always finds a way. According to the stories, the madness of the island eventually consumed the doctor himself. He began to see the phantoms of the plague victims and the spirits of the patients he had tortured. They haunted him in his sleep and chased him through the asylum halls, whispering his sins. Driven completely insane by the terrors of Poveglia, the doctor ran up to the very top of the bell tower one night. Eyewitness accounts from the surviving nurses claim he looked terrified, as if pursued by something unseen. He threw himself off the tower, falling to the hard stone ground below. But the legend does not end with his fall. A nurse who witnessed the event claimed that as the doctor lay dying on the ground, a mysterious thick mist rose from the earth. The mist wrapped around his neck and choked the remaining life out of him. The island had reclaimed its torturer. Shortly after his death, in 1968, the asylum was permanently closed. The staff departed, the patients were relocated, and the buildings were abandoned. The beds were left to rust. The medical instruments were left to gather dust, and nature slowly began to wrap its green fingers around the blood-stained bricks. Poveglia was once again left alone with its ghosts. The silence that fell upon the island was heavy, a suffocating blanket that seemed to preserve the pain of the past for eternity. Even today, the locals claim that the wind blowing from Poveglia carries the echoes of 1,000 lost souls, still seeking justice for the atrocities committed within those cold, gray walls. Today, Poveglia is a forbidden zone. The Italian government has tried to sell the island, to lease it, to turn it into a luxury hotel, but every project fails. The dark history of this place refuses to be painted over. Paranormal investigators who have managed to sneak onto the island report extreme feelings of dread, equipment failures, and disembodied voices crying out in ancient Italian. But you do not need to believe in ghosts to feel the horror of Poveglia. The true ghost is the history itself. It is a monument to how humanity treated its most vulnerable, the sick, the dying, and the mentally ill by locking them away on a distant rock, out of sight and out of mind. As the sun sets over the Venetian Lagoon, the bright lights of the city shine in the distance, celebrating life and beauty. But just a few miles away, Poveglia stands in total darkness. A silent city of 60,000 souls, resting beneath the ash and stone, waiting for a morning that will never come. Thank you for watching Soul of the Ruins. If you want to uncover more forgotten histories and the dark secrets of the world's most mysterious places, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What do you think lies in the shadows of Poveglia? Until next time, let the ruins rest.